good sense of where things stand, and they're at a standstill. You see a lot of reporters milling around, but what you can't see is what's going on as we speak behind closed doors, and it's really behind this wall. The Democrats, all Senate Democrats, are meeting right now, getting a briefing from the Senate Democratic leader, Harry Reid, and then down this hall, which you can't really see from here, the same thing is going on with Republicans. And at this podium, we hope to hear from the Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, when he comes out after talking to Democrats. But in terms of where we know things stand, they are really frozen as it goes. Earlier today, we explained that the reason from the Democrats' point of view is because they got an offer from Republicans that includes what was known as chained CPI, which, as you've been explaining very well, Allie, effectively means that Social Security checks would be smaller for Social Security recipients, which is something that is a non-starter for Democrats in this particular negotiation. It is something that the president offered as part of a larger deal, but not now. There are other things that are not being, that they're not together on, like tax rates and other big issues, but that is one major snag as far as Democrats are concerned, and that's why the Senate Majority Leader on the Senate floor a little while ago said he won't even give the Republicans a counteroffer because that is simply off the table. So we're going to see what happens in these talks. Perhaps on the Republican side, the Senate Minority Leader is going to hear from his rank and file that is something that they can give in on, and from the Democratic side, perhaps it's something, there are other things that they can give on, but it does not feel like this is a deal in the making right here. You just don't get that feel at all, particularly because there's another thing that we haven't talked about, perhaps you will with other guests, which is the sequester, $110 billion in spending cuts. That is something that Republicans want to keep, Democrats don't.
I'm going to do that. All right, Dana, thanks very much. We will check in with you very shortly. Let's go to John Avlon. He is a senior political columnist for Newsweek and the Daily Beast. John, 500 and some odd days since they first knew that we were going to face this reality, that the fiscal cliff was going to come to pass. This, as you have said, is about the most anticipated economic disaster the world has ever seen.
It is, and it's absolutely pathetic that we are here just hours before the end of the year, and now negotiations are in an impasse. I mean, it is the divided, dysfunctional Congress at a new low. We all knew that grand bargain, which we've been talking about and debating, which would need a genuine entitlement reform, spending cuts, revenue increases, that right now we're just trying to put a patch to not go over the cliff, which would be a kick in the teeth to the economy just as we're starting to recover. So putting change CPI on the table, the president spoke about it earlier today on Meet the Press, but it was in the context of a larger grand bargain. The fact that the two sides seem blocked right now and back-channeling between McConnell and Biden, that is not a good sign for the country. We are hours away from the cliff here, and there seems to be a stalemate in Washington.
What do you think is going to happen, John? What do you think happens? Do they cut a deal, or are they just trying to figure out who gets the blame if America goes over the cliff?
Well, they should all get the blame, first of all, but polls do show that Republican obstruction would get the brunt in the near term. The problem is this isn't just a political problem. As you well know, as you've explained to your viewers, Allie, this is an economic problem. The combined pack could take our recovering economy and put it back into recession. This is no joke. It's not just that all Americans' taxes would go up overnight. And the real absurdity, again, just as a reality check, both parties and the president are in agreement on 98% of the taxes. They are in agreement that 98% of Americans should not see their taxes raised. This debate is over that 2%. And then additional things like extending unemployment insurance, not a small matter for 2 million Americans who will find their unemployment benefits disappearing overnight if Congress doesn't get something done. So the question is, what kind of a concrete proposal? We should be able to come together as a baseline, as a foundation for dealing with the really difficult stuff going forward, because with that debt ceiling out there, we know we're going to need a larger plan, but it's not going to get done in the next 36 hours.
Any hopes of that happening are over, at least for now. John Avlon, thanks very much. Let's go to Jessica Yellen, CNN's chief White House correspondent. She's got new information about communication between the White House and the Senate's top Republican minority leader, Mitch McConnell. Jessica.
Hi, Allie. Well, what I can report is that McConnell and the vice president have been in contact. They've spoken twice at least, and this is at least some encouraging news. I know Dana has the best pulse on the mood, and if she is saying that it does not look encouraging, she really would know. But at the same time, the fact that these two men are at least in contact creates the possibility of a way forward. What we could see potentially is some bartering. One thing that we know Republicans want is a way to get the estate tax, for example, from jumping up in the new year. And if, for example, if they put the CPI on the table as a way to barter to get the estate tax reined in, maybe that's something that the Democrats, the vice president could get in there and start bartering with. I'm not speaking here from actual information about what the vice president's doing.
No, but you've got a lot of context.
Okay,
you've got a lot of context. We need to have that. For our viewers around the world and in America who don't understand change CPI, CPI is a consumer price index. It's the inflation measure that we use to adjust benefit checks, including Social Security. And what the Republicans are proposing is that it reflect how people would behave. So often when the price of meat goes up, people switch to chicken. This is something the White House has said that they're willing to entertain, but as you mentioned, they would do it in the context of a bigger deal, not the deal that they're talking about right now, which is a mini deal. Right. Jessica, stay there. We'll come back to you. We'll keep checking in to see what the developments are. This circus, it's no other way to put it, the circus in Washington has real implications for your money and your investments. When we come back, we'll talk about how to protect your money as American lawmakers try to work out a deal. You are watching your